I've been informed that the jury has reached a verdict in this case. Uh, My standard admonishment to the spectators in the courtroom is that there absolutely be no outburst of any kind from anyone. There will certainly be no displays of emotion or anything of that nature. If it is, you will be promptly removed from the courtroom and further proceedings, and you will face the penalty of contempt. So please remember, this is a court of law, and I would expect you to dignify that as best you can. I understand that this has been a very emotional time for families and loved ones in this case. I understand all that very perfectly. This court has a heart like any other person, and I understand both sides, both families that are involved and friends. I understand all of that. At the same time, I'm going to ask you and remind you to dignify these court proceedings accordingly. I've been told that the jury has reached a verdict. Is that correct? Did you all select a foreman? All right, sir. Let's see. Mr. Lampkin, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. I don't need to know what your verdict was, but I just need to know that all 12 jurors agree on that verdict.
Yes, sir, we did.
All right. Would you hand the verdict, please, to the court, to the clerk? Excuse me.
We all didn't agree on it.
Sir?
You said we all agreed on that verdict. We didn't.
All 12. The verdict has to be unanimous. So all 12 did not agree on the verdict. Is that what you're telling me, sir?
Yeah, I didn't agree with that.
All right. I'd ask you to step back into the jury room, please. Pass the verdict, please, to the clerk that you have in your hand. All right. Once again, I've been informed that the jury has reached a verdict. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I need to ask you if that verdict represents the considered judgment of all 12 jurors. In other words, is it unanimous?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Has that verdict been recorded on a separate sheet of paper?
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you pass it to the clerk, please? Would the clerk please read the verdict?
We, the jury, find the defendant, Quentin Verdale Tellis, not guilty of capital murder.
Right. Any request of counsel?
Yes, sir. Request the jury to be polled.
All right. It's been requested the jury be polled. In other words, I'm going to start down here. I'm going to ask each one of you if that is your verdict. You just need to tell me yes or no. Okay? All right. Ms. Martin? Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Madison? McGee?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Mr. Lampkin?
Guilty.
Mr. Johnson?
Jackson.
Jackson? I'm sorry. It says Johnson. All right, Mr. Johnson. All right, thank you. Ms. Felder?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Gauss? Ms. Boyd? Is that a yes, ma'am? All right. Mr. Jones?
Guilty.
Mr. Coleman?
Guilty.
Mr. McKinley?
Guilty.
Mr. Bullock? Ms. Bullock, excuse me. All right.
I'm way misunderstanding here.
I can't, I was having trouble hearing. All right. You may approach. It's very important we understand what your response is. And so I'm going to ask you to speak loudly so that I can hear you. The verdict that I have recorded here is we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. So I'm going to ask you, Ms. Gauss, is not guilty your verdict?
Yes. Yes.
Boyd.
Are you asking?
I'm asking you if you voted not guilty.
I voted guilty.
You voted guilty. All right. Mr. Jones.
I voted guilty.
All right. Mr. Coleman.
I voted guilty.
All right. Mr. McKinley.
I voted guilty.
Ms. Bullock.
I voted guilty.
All right. Ms. Martin.
I'm not guilty.
All right, Ms. Madison.
I voted guilty.
All right, Mr. McGee.
Not guilty.
Mr. Lampkin.
Guilty.
Mr. Johnson.
Jackson.
Not guilty.
Ms. Felder. All right. May I see the jury instructions, please? It is very important that you all try again to reach a verdict, all right? Obviously, there's a split between you all as to the verdict in this case. I'm going to read you the instruction again. Give you some more time to deliberate. I don't know why the verdict was recorded as it was, but at any rate, I'm going to ask you to go back, consider your verdict, deliberate, and please record your verdict accurately, all right? I know that it is possible for honest men and women to have honest, different opinions about the facts of a case, but if it is possible to reconcile your differences of opinion and decide this case, then you should do so. Accordingly, I remind you that the court originally instructed you that the verdict of the jury must represent the considered judgment of each juror. It is your duty as jurors to consult with one another and to deliberate in view of reaching an agreement if you can do so without violence to your individual judgment. Each of you must decide the case for yourself, but only after an impartial consideration of the evidence with your fellow jurors. In the course of your deliberations, do not hesitate to re-examine your own views and change your opinion if you are convinced it is erroneous. But do not surrender your honest convictions as to the weight or effect of the evidence solely because of the opinion of your fellow jurors or for the mere purpose of returning a verdict. Please continue your deliberations. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm going to read you one more instruction. Then I'm going to send you back to your jury room once more. And I want you to consider this instruction along with all the other instructions I've previously given to you. The court instructs the jury that all 12 jurors must agree on the verdict in order to find the defendant guilty. The court instructs the jury that all 12 jurors must agree on the verdict in order to find the defendant not guilty. If you are unable to reach a unanimous verdict as to guilty or not guilty, please advise the court in writing. All right. I will now send you back to your jury room for further deliberations. I've been advised the jury is ready to report. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's been reduced to writing.
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you hand it to the bailiff, please? Clerk will read the verdict, or the report, I should say.
We, the jury, cannot unanimously make a verdict of guilty or not guilty for the defendant, Quentin Verdell Tellis.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes your duties. I want to tell you how much I appreciate your taking the time and giving up your freedom to assist the citizens of Panola County in this case. It's a very difficult case. You've been very conscientious in your duty. And as I told you down in Pike County earlier last week, that I hold jury service in high regard. And I rate it right up there with serving in the military. And I hope that the next time that you're called, hope it won't be any time soon for you. But I do hope that you will take advantage of your experience and be willing to serve the people of Pike County again. I thank you for your service. I'm going to put you in charge of your bailiff where you will be taken back to your homes today. Thank you very much. The jury could not reach a verdict in this case, and it appears to the court that they were hopelessly deadlocked probably after 9 or 10 hours of deliberation. The court is going to officially declare a mistrial. And all right, thank you.